Welcome into the Scene Project Sports Network. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today, Director of Southern Arizona Chapter of PGA, Cesar Balganon II. Cesar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bubba. Thanks for having me, buddy. Great meeting you.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Talking a lot about, what we're doing, for veterans, both on our side and what you guys in the PGA are doing with PGA Hope. And we're going to get into a lot of that. Before we get too far into the conversation, though, want to get a little bit of your backstory and how you found the game of golf, and then we'll pick things up from there.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a PGA professional here in Tucson, Arizona. I am a Basquiat tribal member and have been in the golf industry for about 9 years now. And I picked up the game at the age of 20, a little later in life for sure, but it was just never around, my community. And my dad and uncle started playing in my teens, and I'm like, no, it's going to mess up my baseball swing, and it's totally wrong about that. But once I started playing, I was hooked. I was absolutely addicted to it. And I think it's just that competitive spirit in me. Didn't even want to be like good at it or have goals in golf. I didn't want to be so bad at it. I was just chunking thin in shots. But ever since then, it started a journey where I started working at Sawilo Golf Club, which is owned by the Casino del Sol, and that's owned by the Pasquiaki tribe. And there was a lot of pride in working there, and I found my calling. I wanted to work my way up. I found out about the PGA Professional Golf Management Program and was able to get through it and get my Class A membership. And then um, I just want to keep that education going. Trying to learn and be a sponge as much as I can from the people who paved the roads before me, and found myself in a space to be a role model to the tribal youth. So we teach a lot of tribal kids through PGA Junior League, and yeah, it's been a fun journey, and just want to see how far we can take it.
Yeah, incredible. And I know that you just recently got another, title and, some things added to your name there. Now being a professional in the executive management side. And it was obvious just in our brief conversation before how passionate you are about teaching the game, not just to the youth, but also to adults who may be entering in and mostly in that veteran space, which obviously we have a big heart for here with me being director of marketing for Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. That
Mhm.
these games and the camaraderie that you feel out on the golf course are so important to underprivileged communities. Obviously we have most of South Dakota is reservation land as well. And I got to introduce
Mhm.
you to my guy, Lance Christensen Jr., raised out on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and now an All-American runner-up at
Wow.
the NCAA Division II. His brand driven, big partners of ours, and we look forward to watching his career now. But it's
Absolutely.
really your story is just incredibly inspiring all on its own, right? To be someone from a minority group, and there's just not a lot of golf on most Indian reservations across the country here, that for you to find it, and now at still a young age, in your early 30s, to accept that role of role model to the youth, I think is really inspiring to me.
I appreciate it, Bubba. Growing up, I had great mentors, and especially in this game, people who would tell me, "Let me know if you ever need anything," and genuinely mean it. They would text me back right away and call me back right away if I had any questions, and pick their brain on certain programming things we had. And one thing that I'm super proud of is my nephew, who started with our PGA Junior League back in 2020. He's 19 now, and he tells me, "Hey, I want to be a PGA professional." And it almost brought a tear to my eye, but I was just like, all right, man, we got a lot of work to do. Let's get started. And so he's grinding. He's got a good work ethic. And I think when you look back to when the tribal council said, hey, let's put $30 million into a golf course, maybe part of their goals were to have tribal members running the place. And um it thinking about that future, and what our leadership did and the sacrifices they had to make. It keeps you on track. It makes you think about what's really important, and what are distractions that are come along the way.
Yeah, really incredible that the council would have the forethought. You're not going to recoup $30 million overnight, right? It was a very long
Right.
term play, and realizing what good it could do for their community. It's not just about having an extra feature along with the casino, it's saying, how can this impact the community and our youth? Because, as you well know, there's usually not a lot that's going on. There's not a lot of hope on an Indian reservation, and Pine Ridge, especially one of the poorest areas in our country. That's why I'm so inspired by the story and the investment made by the tribal council into this, and their investment into the community and your investment into your community to say, hey, I'm going to keep pushing my education as far as I can go so that I can help more and more people, because that's really what changes communities and by and large our world.
Absolutely. Yeah, the storytelling is powerful from generation to generation. We talk about resilience and still being here, and now we're looking at what kind of levels can we take it to, and the enterprises are growing. There's a new casino getting built next to the neighborhood I grew up in, which is a rough one called Old Pasqua, and now it's changed. Like the houses, the value on those houses has gone up, and my family lives there, and yeah, it's nothing but great things happening for the future. So I wanted to talk about one thing we discussed, Bubba, in your experience working with the Champions Tour, is the stigma between like PGA Tour pros and PGA professionals. Not the stigma, more the difference. And the great analogy I heard, is PGA Tour players. They make millions of dollars playing the game of golf, and we teach millions of people the game of golf. And I think it goes beyond just how to swing a club. It's teaching people the etiquette. It's teaching them to be comfortable walking into a golf shop and um, knowing exactly what you want, what to ask for. Find someone who's probably going to be friendly. A lot of friends joke about, hey, have you seen that meme where like the golf shop guy is super rude over the phone? Um, but a lot of them been there since 5 in the morning, and not to make excuses for them, but they're putting up with a lot. So I don't know. Most interactions I've had with PGA pros, they're nice people that love what they do, and at the end of the day, their office is the golf course. So pretty cool office to have.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to be upset out on the, at least when you first arrive at the golf course. Maybe leaving is a little bit different story for all of us, but
Right.
it's hard when you're showing up there, and I think that it kind of touches on your work with the veteran community as well, as that there's hope, right? You're
Hmm.
fresh there. You're getting your green fees paid up and throwing the clubs on the cart and getting ready to head out there. And everybody gets to start with that same blank slate. And
Hmm.
regardless of how they look at the end of the day, and I've never really kept score for a whole round except when we've played a few of our scramble tournaments, but
Hmm.
that it's the experience while you're out there, the conversations that are being had, the environment that you're getting to experience around you in some of the most beautiful places in the world. And for a lot of people, especially if you're in an urban environment, I'm very fortunate to live in rural America still here in South Dakota, but it may be the only point where they go out and touch real grass during the
Hmm.
course of a week, a month, or a year. So the golf course is so much more important than just somewhere where the guys are getting together and smashing some cans on the
That's right.
weekends. It can mean so much more than that.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think that leads great into our conversation about PGA Hope, which stands for Helping Our Patriots Everywhere. And I started teaching with them, did the training about 7 years back, and life changing stuff. And kudos to the PGA Reach Foundations and those nonprofits who put together the programming to make it free for the veterans. And you're able to have a lunch after playing 9 holes with the veterans on the last day. We talked about how the golf can be secondary during those sessions. A lot of them just want somebody to talk to, or they're building that open camaraderie with the other veterans or active duty servicemen and women, giving each other a hard time about where they serve too. So it's all great things, and I'm super honored to be a small part of it for sure.
So you've just achieved another, certification with the executive management, and you're kind of working your way through these ranks. What is there a destination, or is it just really being that sponge as you alluded to, and kind of learning every bit as much as you can?
I think it's being a sponge. You know, when I came into the program, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get my class A. And I didn't even really think about what was next after that. And that took me about 6 years to get through. And once you achieve class A, you're kind of sitting there with a lot of time on your hands, twiddling your thumbs, and you're like, all right, well, what's next? You know? So to become a master professional, you go through the stages of being a specialized professional, then a certified professional, then a master professional. And we have a little over under 500 master professionals in the PGA of America. So I think that speaks to their dedication, their expertise. You know, these are the people who are creating the content that goes into how I learn as a specialized professional. And who better to learn from than those who've been general managers at high end clubs or the biggest resorts in the world, you know? So I love that they've built those paths for us, and I think it'd be a disservice not to explore those paths and go through the processes. And what's cool about these programs and these classes you have to take to be a certified professional, you have to be a Class A professional for 5 years, and to be a PGA Master professional, you have to be a member for 10 years. So it's not like I can just go knock those out, you know, right away. I've got to experience different things, like this new director role with the Southern Arizona chapter PGA. It's been amazing, you know, being around our pros pretty often is cool, to putting the programming together, reporting to 6 different committees. Um, Last night we were at a skins game at an indoor golf facility, and there were 24 people who showed up, whether they were pros or friends of the chapter, and we had a blast. You know, no, it's been fun.
Well, and give us a little peek behind the curtain of what someone in your role, what your duties kind of include as director of this chapter. How many chapters are there across the? Because I mean, Southern Arizona, that's a pretty large swath, and there is a lot of
Hmm.
golf courses in that
Right.
area. So how many different chapters are there across just the U.S.? I guess we'll kind of break it down to that.
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to it, but there are 41 sections. So I report to the Southwest section, which is all of Arizona and Southern Nevada. So over 1,500 PGA professionals in our section. The chapter that I run, we're 190 PGA professionals, or I should say, I serve 190 plus. We also have Southern Nevada, so we have a director out there as well, Adam Andrade, and yeah, I'm running our tournaments from start to finish. I'm building our programming. I'm organizing our board meetings. We have a chapter board, we have a section board as well. And of the chapter board, we have chairs of committees. So we have our education committee, our social committee, junior golf, awards committee. So they keep me busy, but I really like it because for me, coming from at Sawilo, one of the hardest things I did was step away from assistant general manager position. So I was 28, and I became the interim general manager for about 3 months, then assistant general manager for another 2.5 years after that. But I told myself, this is always going to be home. I got to get experience somewhere else and see what else is out there. And that's when I went back to school at the University of Arizona and was teaching full time for a bit. And then this role came about, and I thought to myself, man, I haven't been involved in the chapter much, and I need to I need to put my money where your mouth is, and get involved with the chapter more, to people who've given me so much, you know. And what better way than to apply for the director role for it? So I think it's cool because I get to put my own touch on it, but it comes from feedback from all of our pros and wealth of knowledge. You know, some of them have been here for a long time, which is great because sometimes in the industry you see some turnover in certain positions. Um, but here in our chapter, a lot of people have been running their courses or been a part of them for a long time.
I love your hunger and passion for what you're doing and continuing to go about that. It doesn't seem like you're someone who's, gets to that level and you're like, okay, good, I'm here and I'll be here for the next 40 years and I'm good with that. I have a feeling that we're going to watch you continue to elevate through the PGA and where that takes you. Nobody knows right now, but I'm sure you'll continue to find other ways. And you put it very eloquent, to serve, right? You're serving your members and your other professionals who are in the chapters and around you, and finding a way to do that. I don't think that that's something that that everyone has, right? And I think it's really commendable on your end to, at a very young age, to know that and to be as passionate as you are about it is extremely, like I said, inspiring. Probably isn't a strong enough word for
Man,
me
thanks, Bubba.
because the service is so important. To me, I'm relatively new in my role with Operation Combating Veteran Suicide as well, and it's taken me time to get there. I didn't have this plethora of experience to lean on, but like you, so many people that will reach out and not empty promises of, hey, anytime you need anything, let me know, and to be able to do more. And I think that what really is, probably our biggest commonality is the want to make an impact on the world around us, to leave an imprint on not just the people, but the communities that we're working inside of.
Absolutely. I think selfishly, it's a great feeling knowing you heard someone when they needed to be heard or help them when they needed the help. But the other side is the hunger to just keep doing great things. I remember being part of the Basquiat Tribe Charitable Organization as president. We brought Jaden Bradley, who played for the University of Arizona Wildcat men's basketball team. He was absolutely had the city on fire. At the same time, brought him out to a youth basketball camp. So I think beyond golf, bringing all the different sports into your communities and watching those kids light up when he's signing their shoes. I remember the kids brought their shoes and they're like, "Can you sign this?" And he was super great guy. His dad, we still keep in touch. Great guy as well. Happy for him being in Toronto right now. And but he was a competitor, man. It was cool being out on the basketball court. I was running the I'm not sure if you're familiar with Knockout, the basketball game. I was running the Knockout station. He came straight to our station to compete against the kids. And he was ruthless, man. He was making everything. And one of the kids got one out on him and that lit a fire. He was just like, "All right, you got one out on," and then he took everybody out after that. But then he was like there with the smaller kids, just showing them the ropes and things like that. So it's crazy to me, like looking at him, being as young as he is, and I'm a little, older than him, and I'm like, that's super inspiring. He's teaching me things. So it goes back to being a sponge, right? Um, but no, I'm with you. Doing great things is it's an awesome feeling, and there's so much to be done, right? The work never stops is the hard part because I'm sure it's hard for you to sleep sometimes, Bubba. You're like, man, I think we could do this next and that next, and but we're
Finally,
we're
someone
just
who understands me.
yeah.
My wife doesn't get it. She's like, "What are you doing up at 2:30 in the morning?" And sometimes, the eyes, that idea, a dream or something has happened, and I wake up and that brain's going 1,000 miles an hour, and I can't stop it. And I'll be in this space and chasing down something else and dreaming about the future. And especially with, our, as young as our media company is and all the different directions that it can go, I'm very much
Mhm,
someone who likes to experiment in those, test things out, throw some noodles at the wall and to see what
mhm,
sticks. So it's not that we have a roadmap for where we're going. We're exploring, we're figuring that out as we go. No different than the interview today. Cesar reaching
mhm,
out on LinkedIn with PGA professionals across the country. And I think a lot of people who get into sports coverage are looking to, they just want to talk to the stars. And while that's amazing, each one of these stars has a foundation usually in their name, and they're out there helping people. I'm way more
mhm,
interested in what's going on there, and then learning about the PGA. And you mentioned the difference between the tour players and what the PGA of America are really doing to grow the game of golf. And for me from the
mhm,
outside, I was like, oh, PGA, they just do this tour, and having a couple of conversations where it's like, oh no, it is so much more than that. I want to dig into that even more, and meeting someone like you who, in the position that you are in, that you get to kind of usher in now this next, era of the PGA of America, and to be in a position to make decisions and to have, a say in how things are operating. So I guess my question to you now is, where do you see the PGA of America, the changes that you've already experienced, and where it looks like it's been going? Because now the game is more accessible than ever, and with the proliferation of YouTube golf, I think it's more popular now than it ever has been.
Yeah, it's crazy to say. I saw a stat about the one of the YouTube golf events getting more traction than the PGA Tour event, and I think not to get too controversial, but Live Golf kind of came at a time that kick started everything, and I think it made everyone kind of put their best suit on and see what level we can take it. And I think it's nothing but upwards. Do you see like the top golfs getting built and get people getting introduced to the game who never might have tried it. You see the mini golf courses popping up, like the pop strokes, and what else can you do with grandma and grandpa? With me, I take my niece and nephews out, with grandma and grandpa, and what else can we do for 2 3 hours with each other that everyone's got a fair shot at it too. So I think this game is really special, and a lot more people are finding that out on their own. And I think the sky's the limit. There's really no ceiling to how far we can take it. And being involved in nonprofits and different foundations. And one thing I learned is here in Tucson we have over 5,000 registered nonprofits, and I think that speaks to how huge the hearts are out here. But the charitable giving and the economic impact that comes from these charity golf tournaments is it's huge, it's substantial, and it changes people's lives. And kudos to those who build those foundations and are putting in the hard work. Because I just had a conversation with someone this morning about how we only see the red carpet. They don't see people on the Excel spreadsheet signing up every golfer, and they're making changes the night before, and they got to get the food and beverage contracts done and things like that. They show up the day of and have a great time and just do it. So no, I think there's no ceiling really with this game.
Well, and exactly what you just touched on, what we can do and how the game can give back to communities. We recently took part with our sponsor, Skunked Golf Company. They had the inaugural Skunked Classic earlier this summer, raised over
Hmm.
$5,000 with a very small, I think, 24 team tournament. I think we had 23 out of the 24 spots filled,
It's
but raised over
amazing.
$5,000 for the local, public school foundation there in Minot, North Dakota. And it was so amazing to look at what they had done. They had never done anything like this before, and to pull it all together, I'm glad we got to be up there with our cameras rolling to capture all of that. And I think showing people what is possible through it. And like you said, it's a game that can bring generations of families together. And there's not many
Hmm.
games that can do that, right? There's not a lot of sports out there in the world that can bring that kind of joy to anyone from, a toddler to,
Hmm.
someone in their 90s even still swinging it. So it's a really
Right.
incredible game. I'm so grateful to get to have a conversation with you about it today, and look forward to finding other ways that we can maybe work together in the future.
No, I'd love to, Bubba. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invite.
Well, Cesar, I appreciate your time today. I know you're a busy man. I hope you'll take a few minutes for me when we get off camera here and talk about a few things quickly. But for
Yeah.
more information for everyone, to find out more about the PGA, just go to pga.org. The organization is massive, but you're going to be able to find your local chapters there. Maybe you have a young person that's interested in becoming a PGA pro themselves. You're looking for ways to get involved. This is a lot bigger organization than just what you see on the weekends at the PGA Tour. It's doing a lot of good in the world, and I'm so glad that we got to have Cesar here to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit and to really show us what it's all about. So I really appreciate your time today, Cesar, and thank you for being part of the scene.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bubba.
Skunked Golf. Look good even if your game stinks.